All right, welcome back, Prospect Live viewers. We're back with another 2020 MLB Draft team preview. Joining me today to break down the Philadelphia Phillies is Joe Doyle from the site. Joe, welcome. All right, Philadelphia. They've had a checkered history, and they only draft hitters in the first round. The last time the Phillies drafted a pitcher with their first selection in the draft was way back in 2014 when they took Aaron Nola. Obviously, that wasn't a successful pick, so why the heck would Philly go back there again? Joe.
Right? I don't know what to tell you, man. Aaron Nola, that was a good pick. I don't know why that spooked him away so much, but yeah, I mean, I think this year, at this point, you look at their system, and you never draft for need, but they need arms. Like, they really need arms. Adonis Medina was one of the better pitching prospects I had seen in their organization, and he's starting to flatten out a little bit. So they definitely need to get an influx in talent, especially on the rotation side of things. I would guess that they're going to go with a quick to the big leagues college arm, but the arm that I want to bring up that I think makes a lot of sense is Nick Bitsko. And the reason I say that is he's in their backyard. I mean, he's a Pennsylvania kid. If he's there at 15, which I think he could be, he might be able to give you a little bit of a hometown discount. But that slot bonus of 3.8 is right about what would lure Bitsko away from his college commitment. So if it's not Bitsko, it's going to be the usual suspects. It's going to be the Clayton Beaters. It's going to be the Slade Ciconis, the Chris McMahons, the Bobby Millers. There's so many of them that fit. But for me, I just think Bitsko is too attractive not to get into the org.
Yeah, and you know what? I love the Miami picks there, or Miami arms there to Philadelphia. I think they're a fit. Beater to me is a fit because he is one of these guys that is a close to the majors arm that could potentially be used out of the pen. Philly, now that they've jettisoned Gabe Kapler and all of his toxicness out of the organization, or however you want to describe Gabe Kapler, they have an opportunity to really take a pretty good ball club and do something with it by just fortifying a few pieces. They're going to have Spencer Howard, obviously, but joining supposedly into their rotation if we do play baseball this year. They make a lot of sense for a lot of those college arms. Even if Garrett Crochet was available, they kind of make sense there too, because they could streamline one of these guys in an expanded roster in a shortened season situation where you're going to need more arms, and things are kind of out the window, especially, with a competitive team, and the guy's going to be team controlled anyway. Why waste those bullets? Why let that guy sit dormant for a full year? Get him out there. And I think that goes for Ciccone as well. Mm-hmm. Chris McMahon is the other guy I wanted to bring up. Unfortunately, they don't have a second round pick. We'll get into that in a minute. But he would have been a perfect fit there. He's a kid that grew up in Philadelphia. I don't know if you realize that. Grew up a huge Phillies fan. Was a Phillies season ticket holder, him and his father, as he was growing up before he went to Miami. So it would be like a dream scenario for McMahon to go there. I don't know if he would maybe take an underslot, save Phillies some money so they could potentially do a little bit more because they only have 3 picks after the first. And there is a canyon-sized gap between pick 15 and pick 87. Joe, I'm going to kick it over to you. What are your thoughts in terms of what they could do if they go underslot at 15? What can they grab at 87 and 116? Is there going to be anything available?
I don't think the Phillies are in a position this year to go prep, at least not at 87, 116, or 146. It just doesn't really make sense. And that especially goes for if they bring Nick Bitsko into the organization. A couple of names that I really like for the Phillies. One, I think Hayden Cantrell out of Louisiana Lafayette would be a really fun, just middle of the infielder, just electric on the base paths. He's just the type of guy, the baseball dirtbag that the Phillies like to bring in. I think he'd be a good fit. If they bring in Bitsko, I think you'd be remiss not to suggest Landon Knack at 87. He's a guy that you could bring in and pay $100 grand and get him as a 23-year-old sign in the draft and leave yourself a little bit more flexibility at 116 and 146. Another guy that I want to bring up is Zack Deloach. He had a really awful cape. It was not good. But then he took off this year. Was it the cape that he was really good? It was 2019 where he was really bad.
Yeah, he was awesome. He was awesome down the Cape. Yeah.
Okay.
He was like one of the better hitters. Yeah, it was him,
So
Austin Wells, and Nicky G.
you're right. So his first 2 years on campus were atrocious.
Yeah.
Then he got to the Cape, blew it up, and he only carried that over into the first few games here in 2020. So he might be a pop-up guy that they're looking at. Maybe Trey Cruz out of Rice. He was hurt for most of the year, but another middle infielder with some tools. So there's a lot of different directions they can go, but I think a lot of it's going to be, dictated by how much they spend at 15, which, that's how it works with 4 picks.
Apparently, you spent some time digging through the Falmouth Commodores roster because you just named their middle infield of Trey Cruz at shortstop and Hayden Cantrell at second base. It was dynamic.
It's fun.
Cantrell can get on base. He's got electric bat speed. Cruz is the same thing, switch hitter, really smooth at short. I think, if they had to move him over to third base, he could handle it easily plays at second base as well. Both those guys play in the dirt. That wouldn't be a bad fit. I want to throw one hypothetical out to you at 15. I know we've talked about the Cubs being a really good destination for Garrett Mitchell. Would 15 and the Phillies be a good destination for Garrett Mitchell? They really haven't been able to sort of nail down that long-term center field prospect in the organization. It's been close to the majors. We know they have Jason Okart from Driveline, the hitting instructor on the back end. He's done some work with Alec Baum. We've seen the results that Baum's gotten since and had a huge 2019. Is it me, or do you think hypothetically Mitchell could really be make a lot of sense logically for both player and organization?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the way that their team is currently constructed, and Bryce Harper is going to be there for the next 10 years. There's Garrett, you could still get Garrett Mitchell to the big leagues and have, 6 or 7 years with those two together. And you're right. Odubel Herrera hasn't worked. Rowan Wick? The name of the Roman Quinn. Roman Quinn hasn't worked.
No.
Nick Williams hasn't worked. There's been a lot of guys that they've thrown out there. I do think solidifying
Mickey
the middle of
Moniak,
the field.
same thing.
Mickey Moniak. Yeah. I'm not totally giving up on Moniak yet. He had a little bit of a better year last year. But yeah, there's still serious questions about whether or not he's going to be able to play up the middle. You can never go wrong by solidifying the middle of the field, and at bare minimum, eliminate the questions about the power. Garrett Mitchell's going to play you a good center field.
Yeah, and I think he's a better version of Adam Hazley, who can then move over to right field or left field, play that fourth outfielder role, whatever they want to do. Mitchell kind of makes sense, but we haven't heard any rumors with Philly being mocked or rumored or, connected to Philadelphia in any way. It's just one of those things I wanted to throw out there. Keep you on your toes.
I like it.
A random hypothetical. We didn't even talk about that before the show. Joe, thank you for joining me to break down the Philadelphia Phillies. Viewers out there, thanks for tuning in. And don't forget to tune in on draft night as we're going through every pick on day one. We're going to go through the entire round one. We're going to go through the entire competitive balance round A. Joe's going to be joining me. Eddie's going to be hosting. Matt's going to be joining me from the site, as well as a host of others and some special guests. You don't want to miss it. Tune in.